It is time. It's time to end the health orders.
A statement that some have been waiting to hear, but others have been dreading. A look at how business owners plan to handle life without a mask mandate or social distancing rules. Plus, Governor Mike DeWine took vaccine incentives to another level with the $1 million lottery. We're digging into how he came up with that idea and whether it's legal. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for Face the State. I'm Tracy Townsend. This week, the CDC changed the game when it comes to mask wearing.
If you are fully vaccinated, you can start doing the things that you had stopped doing because of the pandemic.
And that means people vaccinated against COVID-19 can go without masks, both indoors and outdoors. There are a few footnotes. People who are immune compromised should talk with their doctors before giving up their masks. And if you are headed out on a bus, a train, plane, or other kinds of public transportation, you should still wear a mask. And we are seeing similar changes on the state level. Governor DeWine ordered an end for most pandemic health orders in less than 3 weeks on June 2nd. And the state is offering a big incentive to get vaccinated. Kids 12 to 17 who get their shot will be entered to win a full ride scholarship with drawings every week for 5 weeks starting May 26th. Scholarship to any state college or university. As for adults with one vaccine dose, they'll be entered to win $1 million. The drawings run the same time as the drawings for the kids. Governor DeWine's decision to lift health orders is an about-face. You'll remember the original plan was to keep these orders until the state reached 50 cases per 100,000 people for 2 weeks. What changed, and why is he doing this now? We sent 10 TV's Kevin Landers to find out.
Behind the scenes, several lawmakers believe Governor Mike DeWine's about-face on removing the health orders was an attempt to get in front of the legislature that was going to rescind them anyway.
And I'm pleased that the governor finally listened to the legislature, because if the governor wasn't going to open up Ohio by the June 22nd date, which Senate Bill 22 took effect, the legislature was ready to do so.
In other words, they believe Governor DeWine felt the political pressure to do it because reaching 50 cases per 100,000 people, many believe, wasn't going to happen.
I believe it was an unattainable number.
Senate Bill 22 to rescind the state's health orders was passed by the House and Senate on March 11th. The governor vetoed the bill on March 22nd, only to have lawmakers override his veto on March 24th. The legislation passed without an emergency clause, meaning it would go into effect after 90 days. Some lawmakers say Ohioans shouldn't have to wait to remove the health orders.
This should be a decision for business owners to make and for the customers, whether they feel comfortable in going in. It should not be a decision for the government to make. We should be doing it right now. I don't think people understand the full impact of what this does to small businesses.
DeWine wasn't asked if political pressure played a role in his decision to lift the health orders during his press conference, but he did make clear his idea to spend millions of federal dollars to incentivize people to get the vaccine was all his.
Came from me, buck stops with me.
Reporting from the State House, Kevin Landers, 10 TV News.
And according to the governor, business owners will get to decide if customers still need to practice social distancing and mask wearing. COSI will reopen June 3rd, just one day after the orders are lifted. COSI's president and CEO says their team is going to work with local, state, and federal health officials to adjust to new safety protocols as appropriate. Dr. Mashika Roberts, the Columbus Public Health Commissioner, says she hopes people will do the right thing to keep themselves safe.
It's really a call to action to get everyone who's not vaccinated vaccinated. If they're susceptible to the virus today with all the public health orders in place, they're going to be even more susceptible on June 2nd.
Dr. Roberts says there are some common sense measures that businesses followed before the pandemic and should continue to follow post-pandemic, and that's making sure employees wash their hands and don't come to work sick. Now that a date has been set for lifting the pandemic health order in Ohio, you might be making some plans for the summer. Perhaps a concert or a play. 10 TV's Gabriela Garcia checked in with a couple of Columbus venues about their plans.
As more people get vaccinated, a lot of us are excited to get back to event venues like Nationwide Arena here. But what might that look like now?
I think there is a safe and effective way to increase capacity within these establishments and still keep not only the people working there, but the patrons safe. So I look to our businesses to figure out what that is.
We're excited about the announcement and we're a little surprised as well. However, cautiously optimistic.
Nationwide Arena General Manager Mike Gatto says the venue has kept their sporting events safe at 25% capacity so far and had already planned their concerts for full capacity in the fall. Just down the road, the Ohio Theater's gearing up for their summer season.
To think about having full theaters again and people coming to view all the wonderful events that we've had in the past, it's really exciting for us. And we're looking so forward to having audiences back.
CAPA President and CEO Chad Whittington says the Ohio Theater will keep requiring masks for now, gradually getting back to full capacity in the fall, taking some time to go from 25% to 50% capacity for a while.
It's not only about the state regulations, which we've been following, but it's also about making sure that we're in tune with patrons and their comfort level.
CAPA and Nationwide say they'll listen to their patrons, and doctors hope everyone listens to the science.
I'm optimistic that we don't need orders to be in place in order to get our residents to do the right thing.
Dr. Roberts says that while the state can lift their health orders and businesses can choose what their rules are, it's still up to each individual person to decide how to keep themselves safe. In Columbus, Gabriela Garcia, 10 TV News.
Restaurant and bar owners and management are working to prepare for full capacity and no social distancing rules. 10 TV's Richard Solomon shares more from a restaurant owner in Dublin, and we'll take a look at how they're getting ready for next month.
It's the break Ron Jordan needed.
Excited to get back to work, excited to, even more so, right? Excited to give people more of what they've wanted.
June 2nd is marked on his calendar for his restaurant hen quarter. By now, you've heard that's the day all health orders are lifted in Ohio. And that means they're lifted for restaurants too.
It's going to allow for us that made it to see some real success. If you're able to weather that storm and make it through, there's a boom on the other side.
The other side for hen quarter looks like it did before the pandemic. Jordan says no more social distancing rules, and you don't have to wear a mask as a guest. You'll see more tables added too. Others have the same feeling he does.
That's the thing that we've missed the most, is just date night.
Outside the restaurant is where I met Melissa Fincher and her boys. She's all for getting back out, but slowly and safely.
It's a little weird walking around without a mask on the sidewalk. While we have nice weather, I'm hoping that we'll be able to take advantage of outdoor dining this way.
Jordan says he's asking people to be patient while they get back to full capacity. Right now, he and other restaurants are trying to overcome the hurdle of low staffing. But if the pandemic has taught him anything, it's things get better. You just need a little time.
The consumer 2 years ago was, I want it here, I want it now, and I want it this way. And I think people are a little more lenient now. Those are the key pieces I think that we're going to carry into the future and hopefully change the way dining has looked for the last 10 years.
Reporting in Columbus, Richard Solomon, 10 TV News.
Many restaurants and other businesses have recently really been struggling to hire enough employees. Some owners blame the federal pandemic unemployment compensation program. It gives people $300 more a week in unemployment benefits. That extra money will stop on June 26th. The governor made that announcement this week. DeWine says the program is no longer needed because people can now protect themselves against COVID-19 with the vaccine and go back to work. Now let's get back to that vaccine incentive that's really making national headlines. Is it $1 million idea or a waste of federal resources? Regardless of your answer to those questions, the state of Ohio is preparing to offer up $1 million in 5 lottery drawings as part of a plan to get more people to get their COVID vaccinations. Chief Investigative Reporter Bennett Haverly has more on the legality of this and the criticism Governor DeWine faces.
Not long after the governor announced his plans, critics chimed in, wondering if this is the best use of federal coronavirus relief funds.
Buck stops with me. My idea.
Governor Mike DeWine defended his plan to create a lottery system to encourage more people to get their vaccines. Starting May 26th, Adults who've received at least one dose are eligible to win $1 million. The state plans to offer 5 chances to win. The governor's plan has been met with criticism from State House lawmakers who've called it an abuse and a waste.
I did not go into this and make this decision thinking that everyone was going to say it was a wonderful idea. But I have an obligation, and that is to do everything I can to save lives, everything I can to keep Ohio moving forward. And this is one tool we had not used. I know there are people who say, well, that's a terrible waste of money. Crazy DeWine, terrible, terrible waste of money. What's a waste is at this point, when we now have the vaccine and when someone dies of COVID because they didn't get the shot, that is what is the human waste.
I think it's a great incentive, but I'd like to know where the money's coming from.
Karen and Sean Kessler could use $1 million. They're behind on rent, maxed out their credit cards, and are standing in a carport next to their roommate's car. Theirs, they tell me, was repossessed.
I mean, it's like we don't deserve the $1 million, but I deserve to get paid when I was out. This is all that we're asking for.
Sean is working now, but they're fighting with the state over unemployment benefits they claim they're owed. He was temporarily out of work when they got COVID twice, once last May and again in January. Both tell me they're now vaccinated.
There are so many other things that could be done with $5 million. You know, I mean, there are so many programs that need funded and that are underfunded. And I just feel like that's a waste of money.
But there may be some science behind incentives. A recent survey by the Kaiser Family Foundation found 39% of unvaccinated adults said they were more likely to get the shot if their employer paid them $200 or more. And there were similar findings in a UCLA study that found 34% were more likely to get a shot if they got $100.
While she's happy about the prospect of more people getting shots, Karen says she's left with mixed emotions about the incentive in a time when she knows others like herself are in need.
I worry about eviction. I worry that we could be homeless. I worry where our next meal is coming from sometimes. I worry how I'm going to pay my electric bill. You know, that's what keeps me up at night.
It sounds like you got a million reasons to worry.
Yes, we do.
Any winnings from the lottery would be taxable, according to the governor. 10 Investigates looked into the guidance that the Treasury Department gave to the states regarding the coronavirus relief funds. There's no language in there that specifically prohibits the use. For a lottery, there's also no language that expresses permission. We reached out to the Treasury Department, but haven't heard back. Reporting in Columbus, Bennett Haberly, 10 TV News.
Sports betting could soon become legal in Ohio. We'll explain what it would look like under a new bill and why one lawmaker thinks the governor will sign off on it this summer. An Ohio lawmaker is predicting Governor Mike DeWine will make sports betting legal in the state by June. Lawmakers have been working for more than 2 years to craft legislation that would allow for sports betting on college and professional sports. Under the proposal, 11 casinos and racinos would be eligible to apply for a sports betting license. Each license would cost $1 million. Ohio's bill would also allow for mobile sports gambling.
The Casino Control Commission would determine what sporting events are bet on, what college athletics are bet on, et cetera. I personally favor being able to bet on college athletics. I think that these universities make billions and billions of dollars off of the back of these students, and so it's really hard to call it an amateur sport.
The bill would allow retail establishments that already have Keno to apply. On Tuesday, Governor Mike DeWine signed a new bill into law. The law will provide Ohioans millions of dollars for rent and utility assistance. The legislation will give $465 million to the Developmental Services Agency. Governor DeWine went into more detail during the bill signing.
Allowable uses include rental assistance, electric, gas, trash, water, sewer, home energy, and internet services in certain circumstances. This program is intended to financially assist Ohioans who've been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic and are not in a position to pay their rent. Low-income households and or those that have experienced a substantial loss of income due to the pandemic can contact now their local community action agencies.
Governor DeWine says he's very happy the Senate was able to pass this bill quickly. Parents have to be very careful about what their kids do online, and now there might soon be a new social media app just for kids. Why Ohio's Attorney General is trying to make sure it does not launch. And chances are you're sick of getting calls about your car warranty. Still to come, a look at what's being done and what you can do to stop the robocall. A new social media app in the works isn't really sitting very well with attorneys general across the country, including Ohio's. It's Instagram for kids under the age of 13. 10 TV's Richard Solomon looks at the concerns many people have over this app.
Most of us have had the talk with our parents about social media. The same convo Lindsay Livingston plans to have with her kids. You may know her from her blog, The Lean Green Bean. But Livingston's Instagram is where she connects with people.
Just to share kind of like our daily life and little, behind the scenes and things that don't necessarily make it onto the blog.
But when she heard news about Facebook launching a platform for children under 13, this was her response.
Do you think an Instagram platform for kids is a good idea or not?
No.
And here's why.
Kids today have so many reasons already to be on their phone. It's so easy to fall into that comparison trap. And I feel like apps like Instagram would just feed into that.
She's not alone. More than 40 attorneys general have reached out to Facebook saying don't launch their app for kids. Ohio's Dave Yost included. In the letter directed towards CEO Mark Zuckerberg, the bipartisan group brought up concerns they have around online predators, body imaging, and protecting children. But Dr. Parker Houston with Nationwide Children's Hospital says kids will be exposed to the good and bad of social media. How you protect them is by educating them.
The benefit of some of the kid apps is that parents have direct access to the kid's account versus the original versions of the app where they can change their password or they can start a new account without parents' knowledge.
For now, Livingston wants her kids to focus on something other than social media.
To be a good student, it's to play sports, it's to be a kid. It's not something they need to worry about right now.
Reporting in Columbus, Richard Solomon, 10 TV News.
And Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg says it's in development and could be beneficial for kids to stay connected with friends and hopes to work with lawmakers and regulators. It's unclear right now when that app might be rolled out to the public, so we'll certainly be watching that. This week, 10 Investigates dug into an issue that annoys nearly every one of us. We are talking about robocalls. 10 TV's Bennett Haberly found out the billions of unwanted telemarketing calls far outpace the number of complaints, and the relatively smaller number of law enforcement investigations meant to stop the calls.
There's that sound again.
Please contact us as soon as possible.
If you suffer from chronic pain, press 1.
I'm sorry I missed you.
Press 1 now to speak to a warranty specialist
right now.
and ask about our new
Join me in the next few minutes.
The messages you're hearing all came to Peter Masitis. The North Royalton, Ohio man has been at war for years. After his mother fell victim to mail scams 20 years ago, Peter has made it his mission to collect, log, and complain about each robocall he receives.
In truth, I was outraged. I was mad.
His 50 complaints are a drop in the bucket compared to the 48,000 the Ohio Attorney General's office has received just within the past year. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost says his office has at least 40 active investigations.
Does it feel like a game of whack-a-mole that you guys are investigating, or have had tens of thousands of complaints, but there are literally hundreds of millions of calls coming in?
That's right. But we are trying a different game than whack-a-mole. We're going after the holes that the moles hide in.
Last fall, Yost and the Federal Trade Commission announced a settlement with a group of Canadian men the agency's accused of offering bogus credit card reduction services. The settlement barred the men from doing telemarketing in the U.S.,
and forced them to turn over $2 million in fines. But both Yoast and the FTC acknowledge enforcement actions can be challenging because many robocall operations originate overseas.
When someone is located outside the United States, we don't have as many tools in our arsenal because we don't have international law enforcement authority.
And setting up a robocall operation is even easier these days, according to computer programmer Michael Self, who had experience setting up robocalls for political operations in the 80s. Self says all it takes is a bit of internet savvy and a credit card to set up a robocalling system.
So what if you made 3, 4, 5, 6 million calls and you got 4, 5, 6 on the line that you take for a couple $100 or $1,000 or whatever you did? You've scored pretty big. And the phone bill for that? Hundreds of dollars.
A nationwide investigation by Technostations found robocalls are a national nuisance. According to this analysis by UMail, the calls peaked this year at nearly 5 billion in March. During that same month, Ohioans received 186 million robocalls. As part of our investigation, 16 Technostations across the country also bought new cell phones earlier this year. The unwanted calls started coming in days and weeks after activation.
Hello, Moto.
In some cases, the calls came without ever using the phones to call or text anyone.
Roughly 1 in 4 calls are illegal or unwanted spam robocalls.
That sounds crazy.
It's unbelievable. Again, 25% of billions of calls.
Aaron Foss is the CEO with Nomo Robo, a company that created an app to help reduce the calls. Foss's company purchased 350,000 tainted numbers and directs them to what it calls their honeypot, where robocall patterns are studied. He agreed to redirect robocalls to the phone I bought earlier this year.
Hello there.
Within minutes.
Hello.
The calls came in.
That's another one. Oh, that one hung up before I could answer.
Most of the people on the other end declined to talk to me, but one did.
You guys have called multiple numbers. I mean, you know that's kind of a nuisance to people's lives, right?
I totally agree.
The caller told me he works for a debt collection service, which we're not naming.
Do you feel like you guys are contributing to the problem, though?
I wouldn't say we are because mostly a lot of our clients have federal loans.
The challenge, Foss says, is not knowing which robocalls might be from legitimate agencies and which are not.
Robocalls are annoying, but they're also really dangerous.
But all hope is not lost. The federal government is proposing new rules that would cut down on spoofing. That's where the callers changed the number to make it appear as though it's coming from your area. The Ohio Attorney General's office, in the meantime, says its investigations may take a couple of years to bear fruit. So what can you do to help stop the calls? Well, step number 1, sign up for the Do Not Call registry with the Federal Trade Commission. Tip number 2, if you do get a robocall, don't engage. Simply hang up. Better yet, don't answer. Picking up and engaging with robocallers can actually lead to more robocalls. Tip number 3, download a robocall blocking app. Number 4, write down who called, the number, the date and time, and what company they claim to work for. And step 5, simply turn them in. We've made that step even easier, creating a guide online to walk you through how to turn in suspicious robocallers. At 10tv.com, our investigation continues there online with additional stories exposing just how pervasive this problem has become. Bennett Haberly, 10 Investigates.
Remember, if you have something you'd like our 10 Investigates team to look into, email them at 10investigates@10tv.com. We certainly thank you all for joining us here today. Remember, if it affects you, your family, and Ohio, we're here to make sure those accountable face the state.